Hola! I am Professor Botos Esperanza, and today we're going to learn one of the most important and sometimes confusing verbs in Spanish, gustar. Now, I'm going to tell you right away, this verb works a little differently than English, but don't worry, I'm going to break it down step by step so that it actually makes sense. All right, step one. What does gustar really mean? Most students learn that gustar means to like, but that's not exactly true. A better way to think about it is gustar means to be pleasing to. So instead of saying, I like pizza, Spanish is actually saying, pizza is pleasing to me. This is a great example of how we do not translate literally from English to Spanish. Instead, we interpret the idea and figure out the best way to say it in the target language. So, yes, gustar is often taught as to like, but that's not exactly what it means. And it might feel a bit backwards at first, but once you understand the idea, it actually makes a lot more sense. So, let's go to step two, the grammar structure of how to actually use the verb gustar. First, look at the left side. A mí, a ti, a él, a ella, a usted, a ella, a nosotros, a nosotras, a vosotros, a vosotras, a ellos, a ellas, a ustedes, a ellas. So these are what we call the a plus person phrases. These tell us who we are talking about or who is doing the liking. Now, at the very bottom, you'll see that I have the word optional here. That means technically we can leave these out if it's already clear who we're talking about, but we do often include them for clarity or emphasis. We can talk about this a little further later on. Now, move to the middle column. These are indirect object pronouns. Me, te, le, nos, os, and les. This is the part that you will use every single time. These are not optional. This is what actually shows who likes something in the sentence. So think of it like this. Me is to me, te to you, le to him, her, usted, nos to us, os to you all. And remember, we only use os for vosotros in Spain, and les to them or ustedes. All right, here's the most important part. Look at the right side. You'll notice that we don't change the verb based on the person like we do in English. Instead, we're going to choose gusta when we have a singular thing or an infinitive verb following the verb gustar. And we're going to choose gustan when we have a plural thing or things following the verb gustar. So we could say something like me, because we have to take something from the first column, gusta, taking from the second column, el café. Now, el café, coffee, is one thing, singular. So I'm going to choose gusta instead of gustan. But let's say I like more than one thing. How about tacos? I could say, me gustan los tacos. Tacos is plural, so we're going to choose gustan. So the key idea here is that the verb gustar agrees with the thing being liked and not the person. Now, let me say that one more time because it's really important. We're not saying I like tacos. What we're actually saying is tacos are pleasing to me. So you can see how when I mentioned earlier that sometimes it feels like the verb gustar works backwards. And if it helps you to look at it that way, absolutely do so. So technically, again, if I say me gustan los tacos, I'm saying tacos are pleasing to me. So if you follow this pattern, take something from the first column, match it with something in the second column, and then the third column, you'll be able to build these sentences correctly every single time. Now, this is where students can sometimes get confused when we start talking about the structure of the verb gustar, but it is actually very simple. And I want to explain it to you in another way because sometimes it helps to hear something explained uh, a variety of ways. And maybe we don't get it completely the first time, but the second time it clicks. So let's take a look. Again, the verb gustar is used to express likes and dislikes, and we'll talk about dislikes in a minute. Literally, the verb gustar means to be pleasing, but in English, we say to like. So you're going to choose your a plus person. So a mí, a ti, a él, a ella, a usted, whenever you want to add clarity on to who likes something. But that's optional. So what's not optional is your indirect object pronoun and the verb gustar that you see on the screen. Let's start with these. So if I want to say that I like something, I'm going to choose me. And then I'm going to either choose gusta or gustan, depending on what follows. So if what follows is singular or a verb, I'm going to say gusta. Me gusta el café. Café is singular, so I'm going to choose gusta. Or a verb, I could say I like to study. Me gusta estudiar. We're going to keep Anytime we have two verbs next to each other in Spanish, the first verb stays conjugated, gusta, and the second verb will always remain in its infinitive form, meaning that it ends in AR, ER, or IR. So, me gusta estudiar. I like to study. And an example using the plural would be me gustan los tacos. So tacos is plural. I'm going to choose gustan. So you're going to choose me, te, le, nos, os, or les to represent who likes something. And then you're going to choose gusta if what is liked is singular or a verb, or gustan if what is liked is plural. And down below, you'll see me gusta means I like, te gusta, you like, le gusta, he, she, usted, they like. Nos gusta, we like. Les gustan, they or you all like. And you see the N in parentheses because if what follows is plural, you're going to throw the N on the end. So gustan, me gustan, te gustan, le gustan, nos gustan, and les gustan. Again, here are some examples of gustar followed by a singular noun or a verb. Me gusta el verano. I like summer. El verano is singular, so I'm going to choose gusta. Me gusta estudiar español. I like to study Spanish. Estudiar is a verb, so if I have the choice between gusta and gustan, I'm going to choose gusta because estudiar is a verb. Me gusta tu bufanda. I like your scarf. Tu bufanda is singular, so gusta. Me gusta el frío. I like the cold. So I'm from Michigan, right? So I have to be used to the cold. El frío is singular, so we use gusta. All right, when followed by a plural noun or multiple nouns, we're going to use gustan. Me gustan los colores verde y rosado. I like the colors green and pink. So this is followed by los colores, which is plural. So we're going to use gustan. Me gustan las sandalias de Jordan. I like Jordan's sandals. So sandals is plural. We're going to use gustan. Me gustan los tacos. We saw this example earlier. Los tacos is plural, so we're going to use gustan. And me gustan los pantalones de John. I like John's pants. Pantalones is plural, so we use gustan. One thing that you'll also notice is that after the verb gustar, if we're following it with a noun, we will need to use the article el, la, los, or las. So in the examples you see on the screen, me gusta el verano, me gusta el frío, me gustan los colores, las sandalias, los tacos y los pantalones. So we are going to use the article when we are following gustar with a noun. Now, how do you say that you don't like something? Well, super easy. All you do is add no in front. So if you want to say, I don't like homework, no me gusta la tarea. I don't like tests. No me gustan los exámenes. So just add no in the front, and that's how you say that you don't like something. All right. Let's try to fix the mistakes. So these are common mistakes that I see with students studying Spanish. Yo gusto la pizza. Yo gusto estudiar. Think to yourself, what is wrong with these sentences? Well, these are wrong because gustar does not work like normal verbs. So to correct these sentences, we would say, me gusta la pizza. Me gusta estudiar. Remember, we have to have both pieces of the verb gustar in order for it to work. Now, it's your turn. I want you to read the following sentences out loud in Spanish and fill in the blank with either gusta or gustan. Make sure to justify your answer. So remember that if what follows the verb gustar is singular or a verb, we choose gusta. If what follows gustar is plural, use gustan. Be sure to take the time to understand the meaning of each sentence and think to yourself, how would I interpret this sentence into English? That's always a good practice. All right, go ahead and pause the video to work through these and then continue once you're ready to check your answers. All right, let's see how we did. All right. A los estudiantes no les gustan los exámenes. So here we chose gustan because los exámenes es plural. It's plural. You'll notice that I have underlined a los estudiantes and les. Remember that les and gustan are both required pieces to form the verb gustar. However, the a plus person part is optional. If you and I already know that we're talking about the students not liking the tests, then we don't have to say a los estudiantes because you and I know that les is referring to the students. But if we're not certain or we want to clarify, we can always add on the a los estudiantes to make it more clear. So the sentence could actually read, no les gustan los exámenes, instead of a los estudiantes no les gustan los exámenes. Because again, the a los estudiantes is referring to the les. Okay, next one. A los estudiantes no les gusta tomar apuntes. The students don't like to take notes. So here we chose gusta because tomar is a verb. Remember that when we follow the verb gustar with a verb, we choose the singular form gusta instead of gustan. All right, let's try number 3. A Elena le gustan los chocolates. Elena likes the chocolates. Chocolates es plural, so we use gustan. Next up, a nosotros nos gusta el español. We like Spanish. El español is singular, so we're going to use gusta. Again, we can leave off the a nosotros if we want to, because we know that nos is referring to nosotros. So that first part, the a plus person, is optional. Next sentence. A ti te gusta el helado. You like ice cream. Who doesn't like ice cream, right? You like ice cream. Here we chose gusta because el helado es singular. It's singular. And once again, we can leave off the a ti because we know that te is referring to you. So the a ti is optional. Next sentence. A nosotros nos gusta comer tacos. We like to eat tacos. Here we chose gusta because it's followed immediately by a verb, the verb comer, meaning to eat. And last up, no nos gusta asistir clases los viernes. We don't like to attend classes on Fridays. Here we chose gusta because asistir is a verb, and anytime an action is following the verb gustar, we're going to choose the singular form. So, how did you do? I'm sure you did great. Now it's going to be your turn to create the sentences. Read the following sentences out loud, and I want you to try to put together some simple sentences in Spanish. So, pause the video if you need to, and I want you to think of how you would say the following sentences in Spanish. All right, let's see. I like music. You like books. We like to travel. Again, if you haven't completed this, pause the video so that you can check your work. Me gusta la música. ¿Te gustan los libros? Nos gusta viajar. Great job. All right. So, to recap, when you're using the verb gustar, don't translate word for word from English. Think about it, the fact that gustar means it is pleasing to someone. Focus on gusta versus gustan. Remember that we use gusta when what follows is singular or a verb, and gustan when what follows is plural. Most importantly, start using gustar right away. Talk about things that you like, food, music, hobbies, anything, because the more you use it, the more natural it will feel. All right, that's it today for the verb gustar. Thanks for watching. Hasta pronto.